I got some reppin' Big Nick's merch for this one. Alright, anyway. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to, I guess, bring light to the exact theming and reason why I wrote some of the songs that I wrote. A lot of people really ask about this, and a lot of people seem to find it interesting, I guess, because obviously I think when people listen to music they like, they want to hear about what it's really about. It makes the song feel a lot deeper than it might have seemed otherwise. And I thought today, with all the stuff that happened with Taylor Swift in regards to the songs she liked, you know, my song, Too Bad, I thought I'd give it a little bit of a more in-depth understanding to what Too Bad is actually about. It's kind of interesting. Too Bad was written maybe a month and a half, 2 months before it actually came out, and it came out in June. I remember that. This song is about a particular person. If any of you have ever like watched any of my videos, you could probably figure out who this person is based on the timeline. After about a year and a half of us being broken up, I kept having these recurring dreams that I just couldn't shake. For some reason, I'd kind of have these dreams every, like once or twice a week. The entire dream was me desperately trying to get back together with this person. And it sucked because it always made the following day like really lame. And after a while, I kind of got upset about the fact that I kept having these kinds of dreams because this is a girl that I hadn't dated in over a year and a half, and like, why am I still affected by this? And this is what's crazy. So like, I'm gonna get into like the really intimate kind of stuff that I don't really tell a lot of people, but hey, you know what? The point of this is to not really have that be a thing anymore. I want to tell everyone everything that I'm experiencing. I'm not perfect whatsoever. This is the stuff I struggle with. So I was hung up on the physical. I was hung up on the stuff that like I didn't really think anyone should be hung up on, but for some reason, like I'll admit it, I just was. The crazy thing about this is I wholeheartedly recognize, and I have recognized for so long, that my relationship with this girl was so unbelievably unnecessary and like not good. I'm very grateful that we're not still dating. I'm really grateful that both of us have moved on because the relationship was not good. It was not healthy for us. It was not strong, and it wasn't gonna last. With that being said, I'm still unbelievably hung up on the physical things. Like, for example, I've never been so attracted to someone in my life. I still, to this day, you know, I'm not afraid to admit it, I'm still, like, I have never felt the same way about someone that I felt about this significant other, especially, like, physically attractive. I found this person to be the most beautiful person I've ever been with. I also, okay, so I'm gonna get into this a little bit. I'll just get right into it. The sex with this person was the best sex I've ever had. If you're watching this person, now you know that. Good for you. It was something that I couldn't get over because for some reason there was a physical element of our relationship that I just felt like I craved and I needed. I haven't ever had that with anyone else, and I still haven't had that. So for some reason I think I felt like I was hung up on that because when we were dating, I got a lot of validation from a lot of our friends, you know, a lot of my friends especially, telling me, you know, like, oh my gosh, your girlfriend is so freaking attractive, which I hate to admit, but that definitely like made me feel really good. You know, I definitely had one of those like, oh my gosh, I know, right? You know, sort of moments. It sucks though because that same sort of validation I got ended up being really bad after we broke up, because it also meant that like all of the people who were into her when we were dating just had free reign to just try and go after her and stuff like that, and I really suffered from an insecurity of thinking like, well, maybe I should have tried harder with this girl because clearly she's highly sought after and everyone's going for her. It's like, dang, should I have tried harder? And so it kind of sucked because to this day, but more specifically to the day in which I started writing about this song, I felt like this girl was still on some unbelievably high pedestal in my head, which is kind of where the first few lyrics of the song come from. Climb on down off this chariot of gold inside my head, why don't ya? Instead of pedestal, I made chariot of gold the metaphor that I used. The second line, I reference, I'd even hold your hand on the way down even though you know you touch like Midas. I was so unbelievably willing to get over her. I would do anything I could to take her off the pedestal, help her down. If I tried to get her off this pedestal, I think I would have put her even higher up almost. You know, if she touches me, my hand turns to gold, my whole body turns to gold, just like in the story of King Midas. And what that's supposed to kind of represent is everything she touched turned to gold, in the sense that even the smallest interaction with her, I'm pretty sure I would have just completely fallen for her. But since then, I've had a lot of situations in which I've tried to replace her. I've tried to take her off the pedestal. I've had hookups, rebounds, those kinds of things. I think like out of desperation, I felt like maybe that could have worked. And the only problem though is I think that actually made it harder. And this is where the first line of the pre-chorus comes in. Now I get in trouble over your body. It's because if I'm having these rebound situations, a lot of times it would almost feel that I was thinking of someone else, which is kind of crazy because like someone actually mentioned that to me and it felt pretty weird because I mean they were right, but like what? And also I felt like I was getting in trouble in my own brain because like I kept thinking about her even while physically being intimate with someone else, which, ooh, that's bad. In the pre-chorus I also mentioned sipping sanity like I do. I thought that that was a really nice reference to potential alcoholism, which is something that I think I might have felt a little bit in the process of getting over this relationship. It's kind of about how every time I was drinking, or every time I was trying to get the ex-girlfriend off the pedestal, I was slowly but surely chipping away at my own sanity, which I thought was a really kind of crazy way to explain what was going on mentally for me at that time. At the end, till her shadow even moves like you is kind of a reference to the fact that I kind of did everything I could to pretend as if the person I'm being physically intimate with kind of resembled my ex-girlfriend, which is no good. And that's something I hardcore struggled with for a while. The crazy thing is I had this idea lyrically for a song and I didn't have any music to put it with. What's great though is that I actually remembered that I had sent around this kind of rough vibe, this rough melody that I had a couple weeks before to a lot of my friends, and they said they really liked it. That melody that I'm talking about is the melody that ended up being the chorus of this song, which is kind of cool. It's this part right here if you want to listen. Yeah, that part. What's kind of cool about this, and I'll get back to the theming in a second and what too bad actually means and what it's in reference to, but that part of the song I knew for a fact that was an earworm because I found that when I was showing my roommates the demo of that melody, I didn't have any words to it, obviously, as I still don't really have words to it in the finished product. For days, weeks later, my roommates were just singing it to themselves constantly, and I knew, like, okay, well, that's a good sign. And this is one of the coolest things, though, because this is like songwriting 101 in my opinion. Anytime you have something that's like weird or different, or you can take any sort of step to make your music unique or different from other people. Like if there are any situations in which you as a songwriter have a moment where you're just like, oh wow, this is really weird and different, but I kind of like it. Say yes to those moments. That's kind of what I felt like I was doing with this song. I was really terrified of having a chorus that had no words in it, other than the words too bad, of course. Typically, you're kind of taught in songwriting to assume that there's kind of this all-encompassing general theme that you're supposed to talk about in your chorus, or at least it's supposed to kind of tie everything together. I felt like I was doing that, but in a different way. But before all of that, I was actually struggling with that concept. I felt maybe like I needed to add words to that, or I needed that to be like the post-chorus melody, and then the chorus melody had to be kind of a variation of that. So what I did is I went into the studio with my producer, his name's Kaz. I came in with a verse and a pre-chorus, and I didn't have a chorus yet, which is pretty unheard of because usually people obviously write songs with the hook as the first thing they think of. The hook typically being the chorus or just the really catchy line or melody that keeps you going, that you want to write a song about. What I didn't know is that I had the hook all along, but it took like an hour and a half for me and Kaz to vibe on like a chorus melody that we were trying to like come out of thin air that had to do with the melody that I'd already created, the but had words over it. When it really clicked though was when Kaz said to me like, dude, I don't care about this chorus, I just want to get to that melody. That's when my mind was just completely blown because I was like, yo, this chorus is that melody. No words other than too bad. Too bad was actually thrown in later, but it made a lot of sense with what I was trying to do because I had that thought in, and so I just kind of threw too bad at the end of the melodies. But as you can hear in the intro of the song, it doesn't have the words too bad in it, which I thought was so cool because it was one of those moments where I specifically tried to do something a little bit different that I ended up loving. What was great is that I felt like I had told enough of the story from just the verse, pre-chorus, and bridge lyrics that I didn't need to say any more in the chorus, and instead I just ended up having this chanty almost thing. But what's cool is that it's still an earworm, it's still something you can sing along to. It's just not what you'd typically expect, which I think is really cool. So where the too bad part comes in is what I kind of wanted to do was have the listener not really know what the too bad was in reference to until about the bridge, because then it goes from the bridge to the chorus again. Because the too bad's actually in reference to what I say in the bridge, which is like, if I were to ever cross paths with this girl again, even if it were just completely random, I don't think I would have an easy time saying no to it. I think I would have a really hard time saying no to the possibility of her re-entering my life. And I think it's because I would just want it way too bad. And that's where too bad comes in. And it's one of those things where I'm just absolutely obsessed with the concept of anytime your heart has a completely different thought than your brain, but your heart wins. Because that's the most human thing I could possibly think of. Everything in my brain's like, yo, no, this girl is, we should not be dating. There's nothing like, if she re-entered your life, no. We'd have a really easy time, you know, just being like, nope. Like, and that's what this song is about, is that I think my heart in particular would have such a hard time being reintroduced to this person that I was so fond of back in the past, and not letting it get to me and not letting me feel like, oh my gosh, I'm re-falling in love with this person. So that's kind of what the theming of the song is. Overall, it's definitely a sad tone. It's definitely sad lyrically. I hope that people listen to it and can identify at least with the emotion. One thing that's crazy about writing music is that I don't think you need to pander so hard to your audience that it's something where literally everyone has experienced this thing, because I think that's when you kind of lose a lot of people, especially myself. I am more about the specifics, where you can draw specifics from your own situation and get into kind of the nitty-gritty and then relate the entire emotion to the people listening to your song, because I think that people want to live vicariously through you and your story, but also can relate to the emotion itself. But yeah, I hope that y'all have a slightly different perspective when you go and listen to the song from now on. Hopefully you dig this kind of video. I'm actually really down to do multiple versions of this kind of video. For now, that was my not super abridged synopsis. I probably talked way too much about this and I have no idea how long the video is going to be, but hopefully it's not super long. Hopefully you're actually like really down with the amount of information I just gave you, because that is an insider into me as a songwriter and what the song's about. With that being said, if you haven't heard Too Bad yet, definitely go check it out. Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. If you want to download it on iTunes, that would be freaking amazing, as I still have yet to kind of recoup the costs on this song, if I'm being honest, but I'm getting there. And yeah, go and watch the lyric video. I thought it was really cool that we, you know, did it all in marker on our bodies, and thanks to Allie Hills, obviously, for filming that and not being super weirded out by the fact that we were basically both like almost completely naked, just in her bed while she was filming. With that being said, I love all y'all and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Goodbye. Mwah, mwah. I just kissed the back of my hand. Anyway, alright. Bye!